Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Dr. Ghufran Babar, and you are watching my YouTube channel. Today's video will be based on COVID-19 disease and future prospects of the disease and long-lasting immunity after acquiring a COVID-19 infection. As we know that the disease is progressing and spreading the world as a pandemic, the peak disease activity or the highest infections are presently in USA, India, and Brazil. In last 12 to 24 hours, the death toll in USA has risen to 180,576. With the total number of new deaths being 402. In Brazil, there are 114,772 deaths already, and 495 deaths have been reported. India, which has over 57,000 deaths reported as of today, that is Sunday, September 23rd. And the total number of deaths which have been reported in last 12 to 24 hours is 846. In UK, the death toll is now 41,429, and the deaths have been less, up to 6. Pakistan continues to show good disease control and decrease activity. With only 4 deaths reported, total number of deaths being 6,235, and new cases are still emerging, probably with the recent Eid festival, recent gatherings that may have happened. There are new cases of 1,209. Over 1,000 cases in last 24 hours, but the mortality or deaths have only been 4. So going back to our future prospects of attaining long-lasting immunity to COVID-19, there have been number of antibody data which has been reported from all across the world. And remember, antibodies are an indicator that once you get exposed to the virus, our immune cells, which are lymphocytes, in which there are cells that kill, natural killer cells, macrophages, and there are other cells, the B lymphocytes, which could cause plasma cell formation, which make the immunoglobulins or antibodies against the infection. And their antibodies that have been measured, they have shown high titer of antibodies in India. In Delhi, it was 24% in people who were tested, 21.7% in Moscow, 7% in New York, 17.5% in London, and overall in UK is 6.2% people have that protective antibody. And the immune cells, which also include the T cells, which include cells that kill the infectious agents, the killer T cells, the suppressor cells, and the helper cells. The helper cells increase the antibody production, and the suppressor, if there's too much of inflammation, the inflammation is suppressed. And on top of that, there are B and T memory cells that keep a memory of the infectious agent. And if we get exposed to that infectious agent, in our case it's the COVID-19, then a robust immune response is launched so that the virus is eradicated and the person is protected. So there are reports that say, which are optimistic and that indicate that there would be long-lasting immunity against the COVID-19 infection, whether you have a severe disease or mild disease. There will be neutralizing antibodies formed that will neutralize the virus, and the T cells that kill the virus, the cytotoxic T cells, they will have an activity, and there will be memory cells as well. and there have been recent good studies which have come up to support this thing. A couple of studies from University of Washington that say that functional SARS-CoV-2 specific immune memory persists after mild COVID-19 infection. So there was a question by different people that does the mild infection give you a similar immunity as compared to moderate to severe infection? Because remember, most of the infections by COVID-19 are mild infections. The respiratory symptoms including the fever, runny nose, cough, congestion, sometimes vomiting or diarrhea, loss of taste sensation, and it's only moderate infection in which you can develop pneumonia, respiratory distress, and in severe infection you can develop excuse me, respiratory distress syndrome and cytokine release syndrome and generalized shock-like state. So that is good news, and they have a study from Washington, University of Washington, in which longitudinal follow-up for 3 months of mild cases, and this expressed that they have developed sustained immunological memory against the infectious agent, and that was both the antibodies and T cells, the T memory cells, which release the gamma interferon once they are re-exposed to the same infectious agent, which activates the immune system to launch the immune response against the virus. And those cells which are infected by the virus, they exhibit the viral antigen, or the virus indicates to the immune system that it has been infected by the virus, and the lymphocytes come, release material to destroy that specific cell to limit the spread of infection. Remember, this infectious agent, that the COVID-19 virus utilizes the cell machinery, including the nucleus as well as the ribosomes where its protein is made, and the transcription which increases the viral DNA, and the viral particles kill that cell and then infect other cells of the host cells. So that is good news that those neutralizing antibodies are formed. And then there was another study that was carried out in a fishing boat that carried 122 people, and before the people left, and this study is also coming from University of Seattle, University of Washington. So those 122 crew people, they were tested for COVID-19 before departure, and only 3 people had antibodies. None were positive. The RT-PCR was negative for rest of the people, and somehow some was incubating the disease, that the disease was going through the incubation period, and incubation period is a time when the disease has not expressed itself and is entering into the host cells, and this could last up to a week to 10 days. So someone was carrying that virus, and when they went to the voyage, which was about 18 days long, that person became symptomatic and started spreading the disease. So 85% of the vessel crew and the people, they got it. So out of 122, 104 developed symptoms, and 1 person needed hospitalization. So this 18-day voyage was reduced to fewer days. So what happened was that those people, 104 people, they developed antibodies, IgG, against the infection, and they worked against the virus. And those 3 people, they continued to express the neutralizing antibodies and the cytotoxic T cells and T memory cells, and they developed a strong immune system, and due to which they did not develop the symptoms. And these were the people who may have been exposed to COVID-19 mild infection previously, and they had developed the immunity. So that was good news that those antibodies were able to fight off infection, and they were followed up, and that for 50 days, and antibodies stopped the spread of infection to other cells. So that is a really, really good study. However, long-term follow-up of these people would be needed. So those 3 people who were positive for antibody, they did not get infected or did not develop any symptoms, indicates that you develop lasting protection against the infectious agent if you are exposed again. So that is the good piece of evidence that indicates that people, even those people who have developed a mild disease initially, they could be protected from the disease if they are exposed again. So that is a really good outcome of this study. Then there was another study from Stockholm Center of Infectious Medicine that noticed that there was robust T cell immunity in convalescent individuals with asymptomatic or mild COVID-19 infection. And in this study too, they indicated that they developed a higher level of cytotoxicity. So they developed cytotoxic T cells, memory cells, and B memory cells, and T cells were able to destroy the infected COVID-19 cells. And previously in SARS-1 study, they also showed that long-lasting immunity was possible. So all these 3 studies collectively indicate the people who develop mild or asymptomatic disease, they are protected against future infection if they are exposed to the infectious agent. Again, our memory cells, they activate the immune system. The immune system makes the neutralizing antibodies, and there are cytotoxic or cell-destroying cells which attack the infected cells to limit the damage and to do damage control and destroy the virus and the virusly infected cells. So remember, it uses the host cell to spread. So if a virally infected cell is killed, or those cells are killed in the very early stage of the disease, then the disease progression is stopped because the virus is prevented from replicating and spreading to rest of the body. So that is a very good outcome. And similar type of immune response is generated by the vaccines because they give an attenuated form of virus. It could be the viral protein, viral RNA, or viral DNA. Viral protein is an advanced stage of the vaccine, and when the viral protein is entered, the immune cells develop a memory against that specific protein. So when they are exposed to that protein again, the memory cells activate the immune system. So that indicates that the vaccines which will be prepared based on these 3 components of the viral structure would work. And in my previous videos in which I explained the process of vaccine development and the immune response, there are several vaccines coming from US, from European countries, China, and Russia has already started giving out vaccine in phase 4 of clinical trial, while the one which is from US, the Moderna, is now in phase 3 clinical trial in which 30,000 people would be enrolled, and they would be studied to see if the vaccine produces the desired immune response. So we hope for the best that all these studies will come up with a good result, and the vaccines which are made, they work. So these studies have indicated, in summary, that our immune system develops good response to virus, even if it's a mild or asymptomatic infection. And of course, if it's moderate or severe infection and you survive it, you will develop long-standing immunity. which in turn indicates that those mild or asymptomatic people, if they are in the population, there are antibodies present, so there would be herd immunity which will be formed, meaning if a certain percentage of the population becomes immune, the rest are prevented. So if it is 40 to 60%, the disease transmission would be low. And if the antibodies are present in 70% of the population, either by asymptomatic or mild infection, moderate or severe infection, or by immunization by vaccines, the disease could be prevented in rest of the people. That will be herd immunity. And if there is possibility of long-standing immunity, the disease could be eliminated or eradicated. So this disease could ultimately be eradicated from the world. So that is a really good evidence and good kind of news that we have acquired over last few weeks. We hope for the best. Please like this video and share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to my channel. May Allah protect all of us from this disease and help us overcome this period of stress and difficulty. May Allah protect all of you. Ameen. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.